Kristen. I really appreciate your kind comments and you taking the time to come here tonight. I know you have a really busy schedule and you will have to run to another meeting because there's another tower going up. And what's new, right? Yeah. So our next speaker is Kevin Beaulieu from Pride Toronto, and he's going to expand on what Kristen has raised in terms of World Pride, right?
Correct. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for having me here today. It's wonderful to be in a room with so many familiar faces and old friends and people that have been in the community for a very long time. I am here, my name is Kevin Beaulieu from Pride Toronto, the Executive Director. I'm here to speak about an event happening in the neighborhood in the city in 2014 called World Pride. That event takes place in 513 days, 3 hours, and 15 minutes. Okay, I'm going to try this again. Just bear with me while I battle with technology. Anyone had this problem before? There we go. So I just want to talk a little bit about why Toronto would be chosen to host something like World Pride. And then I'm going to tell you what World Pride is. I want to remind you that Toronto is North America's 5th largest city with a population of 6 million in the Greater Toronto Area. That it is among the world's most diverse and safest cities. 49% of residents in Toronto were born outside of Canada. That's an incredible source of strength and vitality and is incredibly appropriate when you're hosting an international event. It's a city of neighborhoods. Our very logo, our motto is diversity, our strength, is our strength. It's a major center for arts, culture, and creativity. And of course it has a strong and dynamic LGBTIQQ2SA community, which has a long tradition and history, of course, everybody knows, in the very neighborhood that we're in. It is Canada's largest LGBTQ community. It has a strong record of community organizing and community building, people working together to improve the lives of our LGBTQ people and make sure that we live in a city that is accepting and supportive of us as individuals and as communities. Toronto was home to the world's first legal same-sex marriage in January 2001. In 2005, Canada recognized same-sex marriage, and just this past year we had some successes in Ontario with trans rights being included in the Ontario Human Rights Code. I would also mention, of course, that gay-straight alliances in schools were ultimately supported by the provincial government. We, of course, have built a community together over the past 40 years. We have resources that really would be the envy of a number of communities around the world, such as the very building and the people the building that we're in and the people who support it, the 519. We have a strong and diverse queer media, both print and electronic, visual, radio. I want to put in congratulations to the local BIA, who will be celebrating World Pride in the neighborhood with their gateway markers. Here's an image from their website that will draw attention to and commemorate and mark the history of the LGBTQ communities in this area. So, what is World Pride? What is World Pride? Talk about the intangibles first. We, as I just mentioned, live in a community that has a strong history of organizing and of supporting and of working together. What we have worked together on is acceptance, love, understanding, diversity, and these are constants in our community really throughout the world. What does change is the contexts that we live in and that we work in. We all know about Pride in Toronto. Pride is an international, global movement where those are the constants and the contexts changes. So what's important about World Pride is that it's important for it's an important opportunity for a global dialogue about the world that we're living in, the way we come together, the way that we build community, and the way we face our challenges, and the way we work together in struggle and in success. World Pride 2014 is an international celebration incorporating activism, education, and the history and culture of the global LGBTQ communities. It highlights Canada's continued progress in human rights and the diversity and dynamism of Toronto. A little bit of the history of why it is that Toronto is hosting World Pride. In 2009, it was granted the title by Interpride, which is the International Association of Pride Organizers, with hundreds of Pride organizations worldwide as members. World Pride doesn't happen every year. In fact, ours will be only the 4th ever held, and it will be the first time in North America. It's been held in Jerusalem, in Rome, just this past year in London. Ours is next, and following that it will be in Madrid in 2017. Following being awarded the bid in 2010, Pride Toronto undertook a number of community consultations, overseen, and the World Pride Committee was established, overseen by the Pride Toronto Board of Directors. And I want to be clear about that. World Pride is produced and presented by Pride Toronto. So in 2014, there will be one Pride. Toronto's Pride will be World Pride. It will have an international aspect to it. We will have visitors from all over the world here to engage with us in the dialogue that I spoke about, and of course to celebrate with us. In 2011, Pride Toronto completed a strategic plan for World Pride and conducted more consultations. Now last year, in 2012, there was an opportunity to promote this neighborhood and World Pride and this city at last year's World Pride in London, England. So Pride Toronto was there and undertook an extensive promotion campaign, providing some of the artists on the stage in Trafalgar Square, handing out t-shirts and paraphernalia, and talking to people and talking up World Pride, because people were there from all over the world, and we want them to travel here to celebrate with us in 2014. That was a tremendous success for Pride Toronto. It was a very good feeling. We talked to people in the street, we gave them our materials. There's a lot of love out there for Toronto, and we want people to join us in 2014 to see why that is. The Pride Toronto Board has been working on World Pride through a set of committees, which is operating at the same time. You've got to appreciate that while we're planning for World Pride, we also have Pride in 2013 to prepare for. Last year we had Pride in 2012. So it requires a delicate balance to make sure that we're planning on 2 tracks and that we're able to deliver 2 successful festivals between now and the end of 2014. We will have a staff position shortly filled, and that will be the position of World Pride Manager, somebody who's going to focus specifically on making sure that we're able to deliver a very successful international event. There's a little bit what I was talking about in London. This actually, you can see down the parade route, hanging over the street, flags of all the nations. We may have a parade of nations and prides from all over the world marching in our parade that year. That is me, and our co-chairs in London in 2012, receiving during the handover from London to Toronto. It was a very exciting event. Throughout 2013, while we're preparing to deliver the Pride Festival that you're very familiar with and that you host as a neighborhood, we will also be out at Prides internationally throughout North America and around the world, making sure that we have a presence in their parades, in their street festivals, and in their events, encouraging people and inviting them to join us here in 2014. This is very draft, and no one should walk out of here thinking that this is an announcement of the schedule, because it isn't. What it is an idea of the kind of thing that might happen in 2014. We will have an opening ceremony, which is something that's specific to World Pride. It may take place outside of the neighborhood in the entertainment district. Part of what we want to do, part of our goal in 2014, is to build on the successful festival that we have now, that brings 1.22 million people into the city, and spread it out both geographically and over time, so that over a period of 10 days, our festival is always 10 days, but of course the weekend, the final weekend with the parade and the marches and the street fair and the cultural festival receives most of the attention. But we have a 10-day period to fill, and in that year we're going to do that with an opening ceremony, a closing ceremony, which I'll get to, and a human rights conference, which I'll get to in this schedule as well. So the idea, again, is that we have neighborhoods all across the city. Neighborhoods that have different demographics, different sets of communities, and different ways to interact. They all have their own LGBTQ communities, and we want to help them to activate those communities in 2014. You know, will we have a Pride event, a World Pride event in Little Portugal, or in Little Italy? We have it in Scarborough. We have one in North York. Yes, we're planning to do all of that. And the 10-day period leading up to the weekend is what's going to allow that to happen, because I think we all know that when the weekend comes, there's going to be some parade and some marches and a street festival and fair, as there always are, and people are going to be here in this neighborhood for that. So we have a 10-day period to fill out, geographically and by time as well. For instance, on the Saturday, we're looking at hosting a Spiegel tent, perhaps somewhere like Allen Gardens or somewhere similar, which is it's a very fancy tent, basically, and a very fancy word for a very fancy tent, where events could be held, perhaps with groups from outside of the city, perhaps with some of our cultural institutions. We are, of course, also in discussion with our major cultural institutions, without giving any details until they're confirmed. Places like the AGO and the TSO and TIFF and Inside Out, and all of these organizations, to make sure that there is a cultural program for our visitors to really show off the city and the talent and the creative communities here. So, the Spiegel tent will be one place where we can have that kind of activity. We may have a neighborhood pride. Perhaps that's a Queen West Pride or a Scarborough Pride. Somewhere east, somewhere west, somewhere north. We'll have a World Pride Welcome Center for people visiting our neighborhood. That will continue. We'll have a Neighborhood Pride 2 on the Sunday, an interfaith service. The Monday, we'll of course have the flag raising at City Hall, we hope. The Spiegel tent will continue, and another neighborhood pride. The Human Rights Film Festival may take place on Tuesday the 24th, as the Spiegel tent continues. And on Wednesday, the Human Rights Conference will continue, or will begin. We're quite excited about a partnership there. The University of Toronto's Bonham Centre for Sexual Diversity Studies is leading on developing the Human Rights Conference. It's not, strictly speaking, an academic conference. It's about bringing people, activists, organizers, and academics from all over the world for the discussion in 2014. The film festival could continue. On the 26th, of course, the AIDS Candlelight Vigil will happen, as it always does, and we hope to work with the organizers to ensure that there is engagement and involvement with the international community that will be here in that particular year. The Human Rights Conference will continue, as will the Film Festival, the Spiegel tent, and I was going to say Spiegel tent as many times as I can, and the World Pride Gala and Awards. London began this last year when they awarded Hillary Clinton the World Pride Award, and ILGA, International Lesbian and Gay Association, for their human rights work, effectively the group World Pride Award. Friday the 27th, the Trans March, Human Rights Conference, Street Fair Day 1, you know the Street Fair, Spiegel tent, Arts and Culture Festival, which you're familiar with. We will have an expanded set of cultural opportunities and some exciting headline entertainment that year as well. On Saturday, of course, the Dyke March, the Pride and Remembrance Run, the Stonewall 45th Anniversary event. Part of the reason World Pride is happening in 2014 as a year is that it is the 45th anniversary of the Stonewall Uprising. I won't go into the story of Stonewall here for those who may not know it, but it is a key important, one of the key important moments in LGBTQ history, certainly in North America and around the world. Street Fair will continue, as will the Arts and Culture Festival, and on the Sunday, interfaith service, Street Fair, Day 3, Arts and Culture Festival, Pride Parade, and the closing ceremony, perhaps somewhere on Waterfront West. The Pride Parade that year, some of you may have read in some of the local press, there's some consideration of putting it onto Jarvis. There is no formal proposal to do that at this point, but the discussion is open now, so if you have thoughts on that, I'm more than happy to hear from you what your thoughts on that may be. And I think that may be, yes. We hope you'll join us. It's very important to us that a neighborhood that has been so supportive of our communities for so long is an integral part of an international event, which really you've all been helping to build all of this time without necessarily realizing it. Pride is a global event. It takes place in many different times, in many different places, but there are common themes of love, acceptance, justice, and we want you to be wonderful, engaged hosts. We want to hear from you how best you would like to contribute to this event and how you would like the neighborhood to benefit from the event moving forward. So I'll leave it there, and thank you very much again for the opportunity to speak.
Thanks, Kevin.